All right, y'all. What is going on? It is Saturday night. Well, you know what? It's actually Sunday now. It's March 1st. Um, this is going to be a serious topic tonight. Normally, I would game on a Saturday night. Uh, However, what had happened was I was going to do a series of Black History podcasts. Rob, we good? Say what? Dude.
There goes my one in the chat, like you said.
Oh, thank you, man.
I was going to do
All right, there we go.
series.
My man was going a little slow there. All right, so I was going to do a series of Black history topics, right? And do a little bit different. I get real frustrated with hearing the same old retreads. Wanted to talk about some of our contemporary Black history, heroes and whatnot. However, we're going to do a different type thing with that. And so there was this pressure, of course, to try to do this in the shortest month of the year. And I had a lot on my plate, man. And then the Salvation Army ended up losing their funding from the city, and that caused an upheaval for a lot of residents here in our city immediately, where right after breakfast, they get a sack lunch. They're in the streets. There's no day center for them. So they're filling up libraries and wandering around because it's illegal to be homeless in this city now. So you are a vagrant. And they're trying to find a place to be. And they can check in at 7 p.m. And from that, they can, sleep again at Salvation Army. Problem is, there's no dinner. And it has been very heartening to watch individuals and organizations come together and pull together resources and provide 80 to 100 meals every night. And it's kind of let you know that humanity is still here and it's still a thing, which is a really powerful thing. But that has definitely been exhausting. And while this just happened, uh, that pretty much kind of took the wind out of my sails to really get started here toward the end of the month. However, that being said, America, United States of America, just turned 250 years old this year. And so, we can talk about Black history and American history throughout the year. And so that is what we're going to do. For those of you that don't know and might only see me in a gaming situation, we do a big Juneteenth celebration here every year. And I've gotten more and more involved with that. My organization, for example, we pay for the permitting and do some other things um, to support, and we broadcast it out, right? And so it's important to be involved and to kind of lead by example. We can always talk about what a city should do, or what this individual should do, or what this group should do, but oftentimes, the armchair quarterback is not very effective, and you need to get in there, right? I'm not a big fan of marches. I'm not a big fan of putting black squares and red, yellow, and blue squares and stuff like that. I think it's very ineffectual. I think you got to do something else. However, it takes all kinds, right? Marching and protesting was very effective during the civil rights era, but right now I think there's some different ways to do things. So, if that's how you do it, then that's good. But I'm here to talk about something else today, and this is something that affects not only the Black community at higher rates, but it definitely affects our Black men. Again, for those of you that don't know, I am also the founder of the League of Black Male Voters here in Kitsap County. And as such, we talk about and advocate for Black issues, right? And what we do is we try to remove flat Blackness. And what that means is you talk about things that affect the Black community, uh, but oftentimes that's kind of devoid of what affects Black men and boys specifically, right? And I always give the analogy of prostate cancer and, the NFL wears pink, We know that's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We know that is for women. But with the league being 70% black, it might be getting a little less now, but I think it's still about 70%. That sound right, Rod?
That's about
Uh, People can't tell you what month we acknowledge prostate cancer, which is one of the number one killers of black men as far as cancers are concerned, and what color we use to signify prostate cancer. And so that's the whole thing, right? So we are, and it's great to champion our women, right? And their plight with breast cancer. But where's the advocacy for ourselves? And so that also holds true for homelessness. And so I figured I would do this podcast and kind of tie a lot of things together, right? Obviously, we're about maybe 2 to 3% black here in Kitsap County, especially here in Bremerton. Might be a little bit more. However, we are still disproportionately affected. And so when I'm in the street, I see a lot of black men that are suffering from addiction. They find themselves homeless and unable to be eligible for resources, maybe because of incarceration, maybe because of their active addiction, whatever the case may be, right? Bad credit. I mean, there's all these things that all go together, right? But then there's other folks, just period overall, right? Also, black folks and black men and women that fall into homelessness. People like to use that term, no fault of their own, right? You've got your job. Maybe you have an accident, you don't have any health insurance, or you run through your health insurance. Maybe you have a sick child that you can't take care of. Whatever the case may be, your job got laid you off, your job went out of business, your car broke down. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen that all of a sudden spiral and you find yourself in this really bad way, right? And so, shout out to Deanne from the county. She was saying in a big podcast on Thursday that when people were kids in school and it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They don't typically say, hey, I want to be an addict or an alcoholic or I want to be homeless, right? I say typically, I don't think any of them say that. And so when they find themselves there, you got to ask the question, how did they get there? Were these folks already alcoholics and addicts? Now, I'm going to use some harsh language here. People really want to be PC. I talked about that on Thursday as well. I'm not trying to monetize this video at all. So you'll hear things like, we're going to say grape instead of rape, right? We're going to say, we're just going to really try to cover our language, right? We'll say the unhoused because that is more dignified than to say the homeless. We're going to say those that are suffering from substance abuse and not addicts, right? It's considered a pejorative. But tonight, I really don't want to shy away from that. We know what we're talking about. If you know me, the populations that I work with and I care about and have the utmost respect for. So it's not about that. But when we sugarcoat things and when we soften things up, it loses its meaning. It loses its effect, right? I don't typically swear when I'm in public, and mainly because there's so many different words in the English language you can use to articulate yourself that there really isn't a reason for you to swear, right? However, a swear word at the right time can be very impactful, right? The person that swears all the time has the words lose their impact, right? It just seems to demonstrate a very low intellect individual. So all that said, right, we have an issue not only in the city, not only in this county, but this is an epidemic that is nationwide, and it is our homeless epidemic, right? This has affected us not only, especially the Black community, not only from the ending of chattel slavery and Jim Crow and Reconstruction and the crack era and all the things that we always hear about, right? Uh, you know, Black folks migrating up to the north uh, to work on the industrialization of America, and then once their services were no longer needed, you've got men hanging out on the stoop and whatnot because they can't find jobs, and that's just how it goes, right? And then they're homeless. Then we had the whole epidemic in the Black community where it's like, hey, we can't make ends meet. The state comes in to the home and says, hey, if you're willing to have that black man leave, we can go ahead and give you and your baby some food stamps. We can go ahead and we can help your child, but he can't be here and you can't know where he is, right? And so some men would leave and fall on their sword and say, hey, my baby and my girl, they need to eat. So I'm going to go ahead and leave out. And then in other situations, the mother is like, deuces, right? You can't provide for me now. So, the state is going to become my husband, right? And that's a whole different conversation. But then that causes and contributes to homelessness, right? And those things become generational. We know generational poverty is a thing. And so these are all things that we need to address. We had the crack era, right? Where the CIA put crack into our ghettos and helped to even destroy us even further, right? And we had the prison industrial complex where we are being incarcerated and getting maximum sentences for marijuana and crack cocaine versus powder cocaine that typically white people were using because it was more expensive. So we were just being destroyed, right? Now you're not eligible to use the FAFSA if you want to go to school and have a Pell Grant. Housing is off limits to you. You can have all these things that were very destructive. So where do we find ourselves now? We find ourselves in a very bad situation that is only going to get worse when you consider AI. And as we go further with AI, and this thing is speeding up, the jobs that were there are going to erode. We've already seen it, right? And this is taking out white collar jobs as well. Uh, just don't need all of those employees to run your company. You might have one person that is managing, and you can lay off 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 folks, right? And so now it is making it even harder. Black people in this country typically have double-digit unemployment. We don't talk about it. We just speak it in generalities. When our presidents say, "Oh, the unemployment rate is at 5% or 6%," but for us, it's typically double digits, right? For Black men, it's even higher. Matter of fact, many of us will no longer even be in the roles because we're no longer job seeking because there's just no job out there. So we have all these things, right? And some people will say, "Well, you know what? I see, help wanted signs all over the place." And believe it or not, there are a lot of folks that do try to apply for those jobs, and you would be surprised how many times they're not hired, right? And that's for a myriad of reasons as well. On top of the fact that even when they are working those jobs, it's still not enough for them to cover their rent. Here in Kitsap County, Bremerton area, on average, one bedroom, you can consider about $1,000. Like two bedrooms, about 1,800 right now. When the two bedroom used to be what, 650 in Seattle when we were hitting our late teens and 20s, right? You could live real well in Seattle, Columbia City, Vayner Beach area, back was that in the 90s? In the 90s. But that is not the case now. So unless you have a really good job or you're living with some other people, it can be very difficult. If you're not eligible for resources, because typically if there's a child and there's a separation, the mother is going to be the primary uh, parent, and you're going to be the custodial parent. So you may not be eligible for, food assistance and housing assistance and those things of that nature. Again, you can say pull yourself up from your bootstraps. This isn't something that you want people to be on forever. There are many of us that kind of look at some of those social services as being a trap for generational poverty because it makes it really easy to stay there, get those resources, and keep yourself under the cap. Now, let me explain what that means. What that means is, and I see this all the time, I've got a lot of folks that are on a fixed income, a lot of people that have come to try to work for me and my company. And they're like, look, I can't make over a certain amount because if I do, they're going to start to reduce my other benefits, right? So they are arbitrarily, well, it's not really arbitrary, they are artificially keeping you into a poverty mindset instead of saying, hey, you know what? Yes, we're allotting you this. And if you do work a part-time job or, you've got some entrepreneurial hustle about yourself, you can earn more. And we're not going to start decreasing from this so that it stays the same. Because there's no incentive for you to do any more if they're just going to take it away. Why am I going to work 20 hours for the same money when I can just get it if I don't work 20 hours? Like, that would be a fool who does that, right? Someone who's just bored and is like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do that. That makes no sense, right? So you have all these things that are hidden drivers of homelessness here in this country. But one of the big things that we have going on here is drug use and addiction. Uh, During the crack era, it destroyed the black community. Then we had what do they call our opiates, right? That started to destroy our soccer moms and our wine moms, as you call them, right? That is a analogous to white women and white folks, right? That started destroying their communities, and then you started seeing their children dying because they were getting hold of the prescriptions because doctors were prescribing them like Tic Tacs, and now Tim and Beth are taking them and they're dying in their young teens, right? Or they hurt themselves and the doctor's giving them opiates and they're getting addicted. Now we have meth. Meth is a nasty drug, man, right? Really nasty. It eats your skin, it eats your face, destroys your teeth. What it does to your brain, all these things, it is so very destructive. People can make it in their bathroom, I just a horrible experience. Then you get fentanyl. And now we've got this fentanyl thing going on and it's horrible. Um, we won't even have to talk about that as far as what it does and where it is. But we will talk about how some people do get addicted and how insidious other people are when they prey on people and their addiction. Addiction and housing. What are we going to do? In many blue states, let's say, and probably some red ones too, you might have a housing first program where you're going to try to house folks first and then deal with the other things secondarily. And, on its face, that sounds pretty good. The issue for me comes from, what do we do for the folks that do not suffer from addiction, either from drugs or alcohol? What do we do for them? I was looking at Facebook the other day, and on my feed was a mother who she was in recovery. She was doing well, and I don't want to show the post and out her, um, even though she did post it. She was doing well. She's working, she's taking care of her child, but she's struggling. She's not making enough and she can't get support. When she goes down to the different agencies that offer support, they tell her, well, you know what, right now you're not in a mental health crisis, you're not in active addiction. We have money for these programs, but we don't have any for the fact that you're just can't make ends meet. And it's like, wow. So here I am. I'm doing all the things, if you will, but yet and still, I'm not eligible for these services. Now, how long does she go before she's like, I can't take anymore? I'm going to pick the bottle back up. I'm going to pick up those pills. I'm going to shoot that drug in my arm. How long does it take? And when we talk about earlier, when we look at addiction, I should pull up the point in time count. People think, my surgeon, shout out to him, I won't say his name. I'm laying on the table getting ready for him to go into my back and give me an ablation, just burning your nerves away. And he says, hey, I know you work with that population, and isn't it true that pretty much all of them are, strung out on drugs and alcohol? And it's like, wow, this guy, he's a surgeon, right? Making a lot of money, good high six figures, has no understanding of who the people that are homeless are, right? And there's a high percentage, high 30s and 40s percent of folks, they're not addicted to drugs or alcohol. It definitely didn't start out that way, right? They lost a job, they did all the things that I talked about before. And being out in the street, seeing the apathy from our city government, from our officials on the national level, our citizens every day walk past, not be interested in addressing and helping the issue. And as other folks struggle to maintain because they're not making a livable wage and they're doing all the things, like I said with the lady that I was talking about, It may not even be a thing that you're apathetic, but you know what? I need to help myself and my family. I can't be concerned about you because right now I'm suffering. I don't have the bandwidth. I'm having a problem paying my electricity. I'm having a problem paying my water bill. I'm having a problem paying my rent. My car's breaking down. I can't get it fixed. And you want me to care about this population, but I'm about to be them. But I'm doing everything that I can to not be them, and it's not helping. It's not working. Many folks don't have the family support systems, right? And I think one of the most dangerous things that's happened in this country is destroying the nuclear family. People say, "Oh, you know what? That's a horrible thing. We need to dismantle it." One of the reasons why I was against Black Lives Matter from the very beginning on their website, that was one of their tenets, right? Was to dismantle the traditional nuclear family. That has been pernicious and especially destructive in the Black community. We need our community. We have a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, if you destroyed the village, how are you going to get help raising the child? You don't make enough. You're trying to go to school. You're trying to go to work. Someone needs to pick up your child from daycare. They need to be in a safe space. You might be working two jobs and you're going to school. You might be working two jobs, and it's a lot. And we can say, well, you know what? You shouldn't have had the kid, and that very well may have been true. But again, even then, a lot of folks, they did plan, right? I planned for my second daughter. We had all our ducks in a row. Matter of fact, we were going to do in vitro, right? We had already bought the house, got our degrees, everything was all set up, and things can still go wrong. But we don't see that. We're just looking at the end product, right? Especially if that person is in addiction or alcohol or an alcoholic. That's all we see. We see that finished product. You messed your life up, and this is where you're at. What I want to talk about tonight is, again, there's a throughput of Black History Month in this because it affects the Black community more so than other communities. But dealers, drug dealers, tell people I hate two things. I hate a lot of things. Artichokes is on there too. I hate drug dealers and I hate gangbangers. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Let me tell you why. With gangs, you're initiating the youth. And you could talk about how the Bloods and the Crips and other gangs were first created to help protect neighborhoods and how it switched and they started preying on neighborhoods and destroying our youth before they have a chance, forcing you to join gangs in order to stay alive. You've got to walk through different territories to get to school, and you're not safe. So you got to click up with somebody, or you're going to have a problem. Drive-by shootings, destroying property values. The Black wealth is already low. I have a very different thought on President Trump sending the National Guard into some of our most impoverished neighborhoods. And if you only watch the news they feed you, you won't see many of the Black people that were coming to city council and were upset of what was happening in their communities and wanted the National Guard to come in. Now, when your grandmother lives there and your mother lives there, and you don't know from night to night if she's going to be okay, or if she's going to get shot, or she's going to get mugged, or if she's going to catch a stray bullet. If your kids, your niece, your nephew is there, and they're going to get caught up. You own a home there. This is where you grew up, and maybe it was in your will, and now you have it, but your property value is nothing. And until they want to gentrify it and come in and buy your neighborhood, put your Starbucks in there and everything else, and now you're out, now it's all well and good, right? We've seen that. We see it over and over again. We see it through eminent domain. We see it through, you know what, white folks, and call it white flight, right? They fled out to the suburbs because they didn't want to be in the city with the Black people. Then you fast forward a few decades and it's like, man, why are we way out here in the suburbs when you got the stadiums and all these great resources and stores and everything else downtown, you have all this access and it's a hub. We want to be closer to downtown. So if we're going to come in and buy the dilapidated neighborhoods, the ghettos, the hoods, and the impoverished properties, we're going to go ahead and revitalize this, buy them out, and get them out. And once we build it up, it's going to be too expensive for them to live in there. So then we're pushed out. But I talked about the gang members, the dealers. The dealers are the worst. My issue with drug dealers is this. You can say, hey, this is what I had to do to survive. I would challenge that. We clown on the man that works at McDonald's or Wendy's. He might be 40, 50 years old. He's a Walmart greeter. And it's like, oh, he just did what he had to do. That's why he picked up the bag and started selling these drugs and destroying his own community. He's not going somewhere else and selling it to someone else outside of his community. He's literally destroying his own community. And there's a saying, don't get high off your own supply. And there are people that do that. So here you are, you might be a seller to support your own habit. You might be a go-between where you're just connecting people, right? And that's how you're getting your drugs. The thing that's frustrating to me is when someone becomes sober and they're in recovery and they're doing well, and they get high on their horse about it, but they still have left a wake of destruction. Folks that are still in addiction that can't break that cycle. They're thriving now. But man, decades, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, man, you were selling to that person. They were one of your best customers, and they're still in that way. They couldn't shake it off. That's part of my problem. That's part of my issue. I want to tell you about a few stories that I put together that I have been dealing with. One, I didn't get permission to tell this story, so I'm definitely going to be protecting the names to protect the innocent. The first one I'm going to tell you about is one of my old students at the college. She was a bright young woman, very inquisitive, super smart, great shape, athlete, and really saw that she had the whole world in front of her. She was driven, and it looked like whatever she wanted to accomplish, she was going to make it. Now, I've been out of the college for about 10 years, or very close to. And one day I get a knock on my door. I go to the door, open it. I hardly recognize this girl. She couldn't have been 100 pounds. Skinny, raily, unhealthy, face sunken in. Mr. C, that's what they call me. Mr. C, Mr. Cameron. I need your help. Can you help me? Like, what's going on? Now, there's a brother that's down at the bottom of the stairs. And she's like, I need a safe place. I need to get away. And I'm like, okay, why don't you come in? Oh, I can't right now. I gotta make a stop with that guy behind me. Now I'm up like 13 steps, so she kind of gestures without turning. But I'm gonna come back. I just need to get rid of him, and I'll be back. Okay, you sure you're all right? Yeah, I'm good. I promise. So she leaves. I don't see her for a few days. I don't have any contact information for her or anything like that. So I'm assuming, hopefully, the best things worked out. She does come back. And this time she's by herself. Can I come in? Yeah. She begins to tell me a story about how for drugs, and not only for drugs, but when she's high, that she is forced to have sex, that she is pistol whipped. Now, if you're forced, that's rape, correct? Pistol whip. Having trains ran on her and can't get away, and being kept high to stay. Because when you're high and you're perpetually high, it's hard for you to make that decision. I need to get away because I'm high. I'm addicted. I'm in it. I, I'm like, in this town, you're being pistol whipped and raped, passed around for drugs. I, do you want me to call the police? Oh, no, 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 no. Please don't do that. Okay. I just need, I need to go to treatment. I need to get out of town, but I'm afraid to go. So I, I talk her into, you know, the treatment is the best thing. Called the agency. They actually came, sat in my living room, and they had a conversation with her. And I knew it wasn't going to end up working out because she said, I can't go today. I need to get a few affairs in order, and then I'll be ready to go. When people tap out, you have to be ready to get them to a place, or they can change their mind, or somehow they get access to drugs or alcohol, and off they go again. And that's pretty much what happened. And I knew that was going to happen. But there's this thing with possessions for those that are unhoused, and I get it. You don't have a lot of belongings. You did at one point in time, but you lost almost everything because there was no way for you to sustain carrying it around. And so you just lose and lose and lose. People are stealing it. It gets misplaced. You got to just let it go because you can't carry it anymore. And she had some things, and some of these things were of decent value. And she wanted to get those things secured before. And it's like, I get it, man. I don't have a lot of possessions, but the possessions that I have, I take care of. My car is an '06, and I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. One, I'm just not into vehicles like that, but that's still my baby. I'm gonna take care of it, right? I understand it. So she didn't make it, but she came back like a month or so later. I need help again. I'm I'm ready this time. This happened and that happened, and all these things were going on. And then she didn't make it. She showed up one other time and asked me if she could keep some stuff in my backyard, just some really rando stuff, right? And like one I think was a speaker bar. When you got the little two-piece, the subwoofer in the bar. And it was like, out of all the things to keep, she needed to hold on to that piece, right? That was hers. That sense of having control over something in her life, that was that thing. She came and got it like 45 minutes later. She called me once, maybe a month or so after that, but I wasn't able to get the phone at the time, and I haven't heard from her since. That's here in this small town. One of the things that used to happen and to get people addicted, when you ask folks, again, you didn't want to be an addict when you were growing up, but you are now. You didn't want to be an alcoholic when you were growing up, but you are now. One of the ways that they used to do that during the crack era is they would sprinkle crack on the marijuana pipes. You remember hearing about that, Ron?
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to turn a woman out, or you wanted to, and back then we didn't call them ops, you wanted to compromise a dude, you pass the pipe around and you make sure you've got a little crack sprinkled on there. Well, they smoke it and they smoke it and they smoke it. Then you can let them know what it is, because now they got to have it. They're addicted. Think of how insidious that is. So here it is. You're smoking. You think it's marijuana. And that person might actually smoke it with you because they actually smoke crack, but they can handle it like a functional alcoholic that gets blitzed every night, but wakes up and goes to work every day. Church on Sunday, you never know. So they can handle their crack usage. They can handle smoking the crack. They know you can't, and they're betting on that you can't. So they pass the pipe to you and you smoke it and you get hooked. Well, what do we have today? Same thing, different name. They are testing meth. And meth, a lot of the meth that is here in this town is testing positive for fentanyl. Now, sometimes, folks are stepping on things, which means you're mixing it with some crap and other things to make it stretch, right? So you can make more money because you don't have enough of the main ingredient that makes the drug more expensive. So they step on it, quote unquote, step on it. The meth is testing positive for fentanyl. Folks that are meth smokers will tell you, well, I ain't no fentanyl user, right? It ain't as bad as fentanyl. I'm not on fentanyl. Fentanyl does this and fentanyl does that. Then you test their meth and it's got fentanyl in it. Well, was that a setup? Did your dealer know that they were selling you meth that had fentanyl in it? Was that by design to make sure that he always had or she always had a repeat customer? And don't get it twisted. There are so many female dealers in this town that make your head spin. It'll make your head spin. And many females are way better dealers than the men. But was that done on purpose? I know I got me a customer because you're coming to me for sure. You might think it's meth, but you acting like a fentanyl addict that has to have it. You wonder why you feeling like crap, that you're feeling off. Want the plan? That's just where you're at. These are things that I've seen. Another story. How do we, if I give you the thesis question, homelessness is an epidemic. We're going to have to do a multitude of things to reduce homelessness in this country. One of the things that we need to do is get rid of the dealers in all forms. If you are a drug dealer, either for cash, if for barter, for a place to stay, because you're a middleman, you got to go. Especially if you are taking up a housing voucher or housing stock for folks that are not. Because again, that is just going to increase our homelessness situation. So you got a stabilized drug dealer who has a housing voucher, has housing that is selling drugs to other people, keeping them imprisoned. He's taking up a spot for someone else. He's thriving, so he's not unhoused or she's not unhoused. And he is destroying scores of people around them. And part of the attitude is, well, if I didn't do it, somebody else would. It's like whack-a-mole. What's the point? If I don't do it, they're just going to get it down the street. And then it's justifiable. That's a problem with that kind of thinking. It's destructive. So you're increasing addiction. You're increasing the cost that it takes to operate and manage a city. How do we reduce cost from our addicted brothers and sisters, for our alcoholic brothers and sisters that end up using our emergency rooms for our primary health care provider? From police calls, from fire calls, from property damage, from theft, through assault, home invasions, decreasing property values, all these things, increasing generational poverty, because it's likely, depending on how bad their addiction is and where they're at, they're probably not with their children. And if they are, they're doing some unspeakable harm to them. That goes to my next story. In this state, it is really a big deal to make sure that the children stay with the mother. That is slowly changing, but not fast enough. That came from the tender years doctrine. We could talk about that and how patriarchy is a myth, especially in several communities. Probably triggered some people there. That's a whole deeper conversation. So we have a mother who's experiencing addiction or alcoholism. And the state is like, we must keep the kids with the mother. We must get the kids back to the mother as fast as possible. There's a father over here that's willing, ready, and able to provide. But no, we're trying to make the priority this person. In this scenario, this man has done everything, and he's going to tell the story. Probably going to go on his show. He'll probably come on mine. He's been doing everything he can for his children to provide. And he was thriving. And he had to go to child support enforcement court and custody court, right? Just a real mess. Well, he ended up getting a voucher. Now, the reason why he ended up getting a voucher, one, he applied. But what had happened is the mother was in a deep addiction. Not only was she in a deep addiction, she's fallen asleep at schools with her kids in the car. She's dating men that are dangerous. And I don't know if he was a dealer, but this guy was definitely violent. Documented violent. And this is who is around this man's kids. So the situation ends up being so bad that the state actually awards him custody. Something that you don't often hear about. And you wait years to have your number called, oftentimes for a voucher. His name, his number got called. He was so excited. He called me. We talked about him. Like, man, congratulations, brother. You deserve it. You have been fighting. You've been working hard. You love your babies. You've been doing the thing. Stand up, dude. For real. He goes. He's trying to use his voucher. Comes out. She is still using a housing voucher. Now she's in full-blown addiction, not doing anything. Doesn't have her kids, but she's got this housing voucher. They tell him, so sorry, there's nothing we can do. He's got the kids. He needs this voucher. She already has one for those kids that she doesn't have custody of, that she probably won't for a very long time. It's already been a year or so more. And there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. He lost his voucher. So now he's at risk and his babies are at risk. These are the stories that you're not hearing. These are the things that aren't just anecdotal. They're happening to multiple people constantly. In one of our housing providers, they have a requirement. They're going to come in and they're going to inspect your house. That is part of your lease, right? They're going to come in, make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, everything is good, nothing illegal's going on, right? They're checking to make sure, your things work, everything's okay, right? They want to keep the property going. But you can't have alcohol. And people might say, I'm a grown man. I'm a grown woman. Why should I not be able to have alcohol to be able to live here? Well, doesn't seem obvious to a lot of people, but to others it is. But if that's what's in the lease and they don't want you to have alcohol there, then everything else would be off limits, right? If you're smoking crack, not a lot of crack smokers right now. If you're smoking meth, fentanyl, hell, if you're smoking marijuana, which reeks, if you can't have alcohol, then you shouldn't be able to have marijuana. Now, I've heard from countless people that call me and say, Mr. C, what should I do? The neighbor is smoking this, that, or the other, and I can smell it. I don't know if you smell what fentanyl smells like, but it's horrid. It's like burnt tires or something. It's gross. Marijuana gives me a headache. My neighbor smokes marijuana on the porch, and the wind blows toward my house, and I can smell it. I got to keep my windows closed on hot days because it literally gives me a headache. Some people love the smell of marijuana. Gross. And I get the medicinal purposes for it, for anxiety, for pain, for all the different things. I understand it. But if you can't have alcohol, now when they call and they say, hey, housing organization, this is what's going on here. They're told, well, we didn't see it. We have to see it and document it for us to be able to do something. But they don't send anyone out to investigate. And if they did, all they'd have to do, and it's really odd because they're walking these properties, you're not going to tell me that you're not smelling marijuana, that the house doesn't reek of it, that the walls aren't saturated with meth smoke, regular smoke, marijuana. And you can say, well, you know what? We don't want to displace this family because this family is going to be unhoused. And what about the kids? Well, the kids are in the house with the parent that is smoking meth, fentanyl, or marijuana. And I know it's legal in this state and not a big deal, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to get stuck so much on the marijuana piece of it. But it can become quite the nuisance. And if you're willing to break your lease and behave in that manner, what is that saying? Matter of fact, how are you getting it? How are you affording it? Especially when you're smoking it at that clip. I have a lot of folks that are complaining, like, one, you can see the person smoking it. Two, I might know some of these people. I might even hang out with some of these people. And you're wondering, how can you support your meth, fentanyl, or marijuana habit on your TANF? On your SSI, or on your disability? How are you affording that? Because when we do the calculations, we pull out the calculator and type it in there. It's like, man, you're spending like $1,000 a month. We know you don't have it. How are you getting it? Oftentimes, I'm selling. I'm a dealer as well. Or I'm a middleman. I'm going to connect multiple people, and that's how I'm going to get my drug of choice. You have to dismantle the whole thing. To me, it never made any sense to arrest the John and not the sex worker. I told you we're going to use the real words, the prostitute or the hooker. Mice, rats, they like cheese. You kill the rats and you leave the cheese. It's going to keep bringing rats. If you remove the cheese, the rats aren't there. But we don't do that when it comes to prostitution. We leave the cheese and we punish the rats. But rats are rats. I just told someone a story earlier today about the story of the scorpion and the frog. I'm going to tell it again for those that don't know the story. Frog's trying to cross the water. Scorpion's like, hey man, hop on my back, I'll take you. There's lots of variations of this story. Frog's like, no, I can't, I'm not jumping on your back. You're going to sting me, you're a scorpion. Scorpion's like, man, I'm not going to sting you, man. I know you need to get to the other side. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you to the other side. I'm not going to sting you. Frog says, man, you're going to sting me, you're a scorpion. And I promise, God's honor, I am not going to sting you. I'm just trying to help you. Frog finally gives in. He hops on the scorpion's back. They're in the middle of the water. Scorpion stings the frog. Frog's like, why did you sting me? Scorpion says, I'm a scorpion. This is what I do. A dealer is a dealer is a dealer is a dealer. In so many different forms, you're a dealer. Barter, cash. We have to remove dealers, especially from housing. Because we're stabilizing a destabilizing element in our community that is destroying scores of people around them. Now we have to increase drug court. We have to increase taking folks to medical detox. We see increase in overdoses. We see an increase of homelessness. We see an increase of sexual assault. We see an increase of folks going into sex work or prostitution to be able to pay for their drugs. We're seeing this. We're watching this. We're complicit in this. We're agreeable to this. We say harm reduction, housing first. It sounded good. I didn't like it from the gate. And I spoke on that way back when. And my reasoning is if you allow all these folks to use these drugs, you say, you know what, we're just going to decriminalize it. It's not going to be a big deal. The dealers are like, Birdman. Oh, man. State's saying they're not even going to prosecute these guys. It's all good. So you increase addiction because now you've taken the stigma away. You decriminalized it. Now it's become an issue. Folks are dying. Folks are doing home invasions. Folks are carjacking. Folks are stealing large amounts. They're disrupting companies and organizations. They're destroying property values. They're increasing the need for police, pulling the police away from other areas. And then you say, oh, it's a problem now. We got to recriminalize it. But our government was complicit and helped to increase exponentially our addiction. Look at the graphs that are out there. So it's almost like the crack epidemic on steroids. Yeah, go ahead. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And then it creates its own ecosystem. You need the drug courts and the medical detox and outpatient counseling and all of these other things that now have to exist and increase, and there's never enough of. We have to get rid of the dealers, especially those that are in housing. And the more that we get rid of, the more that we free folks that are in prison mentally from their addiction. Because one or two things are going to happen, right? If there are no dealers and they can't get access to the drugs, or it is tremendously hard, they're likely to seek help and get into recovery, go into sobriety. But if cab drivers selling drugs to you, if you go to a meeting and you can get drugs while you're at the meeting, if the person that is a service provider in that world that is supposed to be helping you with homelessness in recovery and is literally your dealer, when it's COVID and we've got Tent City on ML King, and the dealers are literally living with the homeless and ensuring when they get their checks or they get their money that they are just scraping it right off the top. And our law enforcement knew about it, but they have to see it. What's more low down than a drug dealer that is preying on the homeless? Epstein's too easy, but yeah. I lived through that through COVID. I seen it and felt helpless. Hey, look, sometimes we can say they're right there. They are literally keeping these people in their own hells. And you say, well, if you wanted it bad enough, you know, they want recovery, other people have done it, they would go and seek help. Really hard to seek help when you're in the foxes in the hen house. When you're supposed to be helping me and you're drugging me. Then you're threatening me on the other side with violence and everything else. And man, fentanyl withdrawals, whoo, they can be a killer, quite literally. Meth withdrawals, no joke, woo. Can I make it? The shakes, the pain, the sweats, all these things start kicking in. A day feels like a month. You feel like you're in Gitmo, that you're literally being tortured. Oh, and maybe you're trying to do it and you're unhoused. It's 42 degrees. It's supposed to hit 37, I think, tonight. You're trying not to do drugs and alcohol, but it's 5 degrees above freezing. And when the wind blows, it feels like it's freezing. Or it's 90 degrees outside and your life is on cement. So it's hot as hell. You're miserable. There's no help in sight. What are they supposed to do? I call them regular folks. Folks are going to work. They can't cover their whole rent. Folks are working 2 jobs. They can't cover their whole rent. Bring it back to black men. They have a family. The family doesn't work out. They're the non-custodial parent. They're working. They get demonized. Don't you want to pay your child support? Don't you want to take care of your child, take care of your responsibility? You're a man, right? I'm trying. But you hear people at city council, you got regular good folks talking about how they can't afford their rent, how they don't have a livable wage, how it's $1,800 for a 2-bedroom, how it's $2,000 for a 2-bedroom, $1,600 for a 1-bedroom. And I'm only making $16 an hour. I'm only making $20 an hour. You're garnishing me. I can't cover the rent. You tell me to get another job. I got 2 dead-end jobs. I can't continue this forever. You tell me to go to school, but I'd have to drop a job in order to go to school. Hell, my school experience was horrible. I'm not a great student. Now I'm older and it's harder to learn. What am I going to school for? Oh, hell, I need math and English. That was horrible. I think I'm going to get a 2-year degree. If, for those that don't know, I was a college advisor, right? And being a college advisor, folks would come in. It's like, hey, I want to work on my degree. Okay, I'm going to get my 2-year degree, and then I'm going to go do this, that, and the other. Well, you need to take something that's called an AccuPlacer. It used to be an asset test, I believe, at one point in time. That's where your math and your English is. But your math and your English skills are so low that you're going to take 3 or 4 classes before you get to the college course that you need for your degree. And you got to take it in order. English 91, English 98, English 99, then 101. English 91, maybe you jump up to English 99/101. It's 8 credits. I don't know what it is now. It's been a minute. Math 98, Math 90B, Math 94, Math 99. Then you get to Math 107. How many did I just name? Math 98, Math 90B, Math 94, Math 99. Then I start in fall, winter, spring. Maybe I don't take math in the summer because that's accelerated. Fall, winter. What else am I taking with that? Oh, I need a psych class, but English 101 is a prerequisite for that. Sociology there's a prerequisite of English for that because I need to be able to write at the college level in order to take this class. Now, a 2-year degree takes 4, takes 3. I started my associate degree in 1997. I think I got my associate's in 2001. For those that don't know, I only completed the 9th grade. I got my GED 2 days after my 16th birthday. Crazy thing is, ended up getting my master's in education and teaching at the same college that I got my associate at. Go figure. So when we tell people, oh, just go to school, go to work and go to school, we tell folks, hey, for every credit you take, you should probably consider about 2 hours for every credit of studying that you're going to need to do. Because we say full-time college is a full-time job. You take 15 quarter hours, you multiply that by 2, that's about 30 hours outside of class, plus the 15 hours inside of class, that's about 45 hours, give or take. And depending on your previous experience, how fast you learn, how quick things come to you, there's so many different variables and factors. You might need to go to the tutoring lab. You might need to go and talk to your professor. You might need a study group. You might need to read it multiple times. You might need to hire a tutor. So many different things and options. I can't tell you how many people I know that it's almost like your PhD, all but dissertation. So many people with pretty much an associate's degree, all but math. Couldn't finish the math. Have every other credit they need but math. And they're stuck. Every sector touches our homeless situation. So no, it's not easy to do all those things, especially if you're a non-custodial parent and you have child support, especially if you are the custodial parent and you don't have child support and you're trying to make ends meet, right? That was the story of the woman that I told at the top of this hour. She had her child. She was doing all the things. I think she was even receiving child support on time, and it still wasn't enough. She was doing everything. And her post on Facebook looked like a plea for help. I may lose my sobriety if I can't get help soon. I'm doing everything I can. I'm hanging on by a string, and there's no resources out here. And then we all know of the dealer that's got housing, that gamed the system, that preyed upon the system, that knew what to say, how to say it. Had a conversation earlier with someone. There's, I believe it's called ABD funding. And this particular person, had applied for it numerous times and couldn't get it. And this other person that they were talking to was like, oh, I know how to get it. You just got to do this, this, and this. We'll show you the hustle, the game. And what is this person doing? Slanging, selling, boosting, doing all the things. We have to remove our dealers. I've told you several stories. Now let me tell you what the solution is, because I'm a solution-oriented type person. Oh, I also wanted to show you this. Let me bring this up really quick on Facebook. I wanted to show you this. Facebook, and we're gonna go ahead and search for Kitsap. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm doing a post. I don't want to do a post. I want to do a search. Uh-oh. That I did not want to do. Kitsap. All right, let me go ahead and share this with you. Let me share my screen. Rod, you still with me?
I'm still with you, brother.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, dog. All right. Welcome to the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office. Ooh, they got a lot of folks following them. I need to get to 94,000 followers. A few of these posts. Now, is it likely that this particular shoplifter may be stealing for drugs? Could be. Okay, got another one. Cannabis impaired drivers involved in fatal crashes. Ooh, 82%. More shoplifting, but this is not what I want to get to. Here we go. 55-year-old Bremerton man was arrested on suspicion of possessing a controlled substance, and substantial quantity of drugs was seized after he was stopped when a Kitsap County Sheriff's deputy noticed a broken taillight. When the deputy stopped the driver, a plastic bag with what appeared to be narcotics was spotted in the vehicle. There was a search warrant was obtained, revealing a huge or a large amount of meth, along with heroin, oxycodone, and fentanyl. That's some drugs. I see a pipe, right? So this person is probably an addict who is also selling some significant weight. So he's got it bagged up and he's actually selling it. My argument to you is, what is different from the middleman that's making the connection to this guy to the other person that needs to use because of their addiction? What is the difference? You just to connect, right? You're getting broke off some of this. But you're part of the cycle and the circle that makes this happen. He's selling all the things. Let's go look a little bit more. For those of you that don't live in this area, whoo, there was a big bust, right? Oh, here we go. Here is the bad parts of addiction in dealers. Disgusting. This incident is under investigation as a suspected drug overdose. The cause and manner of death involving the 35-year-old man. 35, man. You have to be 35 to run for president. You have to be 35 just to be able to run young, whole life in front. And this is the second person that was found dead of suspected drug overdose. This was not even a full 2 weeks ago. Here, what, 10 days? Let's keep going. I don't know what that one's about there. Yeah. Show their face. I'm with you. Let's see who it is. Who are we going shopping with, sitting in a restaurant with, pulling up at a light, dropping our kids off at school? Show us who they are. Where's the big one? For y'all that are here, y'all know about the big bust. Oh, here we go. Following roughly an hour of sirens, flashbangs, this is Bremerton, and loudspeaker announcements, 7 people eventually emerged from the home. 6 were arrested on various charges. Thank you to our partners with Bremerton PD, Paulsbo PD, Central Kitsap Fire, Animal Control, and DCD for helping us to safely serve the search warrant. How much do you think that labor was hourly? So when we talk about we don't have the money to solve our homeless issue, that we can't build affordable housing, that we can't build shelters, look how much money we're expending for this. You arrested 7 people. You have to deploy flashbangs. This was a big operation. You can see people went off on this one, right? Let's look at some of these comments in here. They'll be out tomorrow. Let's see. Had to flush the dope. Flashbangs usually end the match pretty quickly. Yeah, well. Please get them out of our community. Thank you, and we need stricter drug laws in jail, prison times, consequences, rehabilitation, not softer laws. I like how she put rehabilitation in there because that's what jail is supposed to be about. That's a whole different conversation, though, from tonight. Now there's an RV like the one from Breaking Bad parked just outside. Don't let the prosecutor or the judge release them. See, people are worried about that because that's just what's been happening. See, during the crack era, man, there was no bond, right? We want to go to cashless bail because we say, well, you know, it's not equitable for people that are impoverished. They can't bail out. Yeah, I understand it. But there are some things, again, some of these things are destroying our people. Destroying our people. Let's see. I hope you turned off the water and sewage to the area so they didn't flush the evidence. Seventh person snitched. I wanted to show you some of these comments. But there are a lot of people. This house has been a problem for the last couple of years. These aren't secrets. People know where these trap houses are. Drugged in, whatever you want to call them, for people that haven't heard the terminology of a trap house. They know where these are. Neighbors call on these. And many times, or often, they might be folks that are getting some type of a housing voucher or rental assistance. It's known. And what's crazy is they'll be out tomorrow. And oftentimes that's absolutely true. And we wonder why it doesn't stop. We wonder why it doesn't stop. Let me go ahead and load my presentation here. There's more. There have been other busts. I don't want to continue to comb through it, but go and look at your police Facebook or your sheriff's Facebook, your county sheriff or whatever the case may be. Go ahead and take a look at them. You might be alarmed at what you see. Like, are you serious? How is that possible? But it is. It is. It's crazy. All right, let me find this thing here. Got all these. Exhibit A, primer on development. No, we don't want that. I could have swore I uploaded it. Maybe I ended up deleting it. That's weird. Here we go. So again, for those of you that might just be tuning in, you're like, what am I going off about? I'm going off on our homeless epidemic. Shout out to you, Cedra. Thank you for liking the podcast there. Hope you're doing good. That if we remove our drug dealers in our communities from housing, first and foremost, those receiving vouchers, those who have rental assistance, that are selling drugs, playing the middleman for large quantities of drugs, for multiple people, they got to go. And not only them, but those that are aiding and abetting. You knew what was going on. You were benefiting from it. But no. So community safety and tenancy accountability framework. Again, I'm telling you, I am about solutions. And we need to balance safety and civil protections. And we need to focus on conduct rather than rumor. It can be very difficult to evict people, right? Because you need to catch them in the act, you need to give them warnings and do all of these things. People need to report and complain what they're seeing, document. That can also be dangerous. But like you just saw in the post, we've known about this house for years and they've done nothing. But we all have a saying. We say, hey, you know what? When they want to get you, they get you. And if the prosecutor wants to, he can prosecute a ham sandwich. People say that because they know that it's true. Hit you with trumped up charges and do all these things. I'm not advocating for that. What I'm saying is the levers are already there to take care of this issue. But people are dying. I showed you that. They are dying during COVID. Again, shout out to Salvation Army. How many people they were constantly bringing back to life from fentanyl overdoses. I know women who have had to save the life, small women, 5'4", 5'6", that are saving the lives of someone who's 6'6", 6'7", because he fell out from a drug overdose. She's doing CPR on him. Insanity. But we need high impact units to destabilize. And we need to stabilize our housing. We need more housing stock. We have high resistance right now from our city council, and it's not unique just to Bremerton. We need to build. Somehow they believe that if we continue to acquiesce to our developers who constantly will tell you, hey, this isn't going to pencil out for me. Business isn't an entitlement. Business is a privilege. We talk about meritocracy and capitalism. Your business may not survive. We said the banks were too big to fail, and we bailed them out. But they have destroyed so many people in this country. So no, you don't want to build a parking space because, well, it's going to cost about $40,000 to do a parking space. It just doesn't pencil out. We want to get people into a walkable city. Multimodal. I hate that. It's good. It's important. But not at the expense of people having what they need. And the audacity to tell people that they don't need a driveway, they don't need a parking space. When you grew up and you had one, it was good when I had it, but you don't need that now. Go ahead, get your ass on the bus. Carry your groceries. Go shopping every day. Waste your time. Oh, we're in Washington. It's raining all the time. Oh, get a bike or something, It'd be good for you. It's funny. My building, when I was downtown, I moved out of downtown. We moved our building out of downtown. They started a co-op. And that's like a grocery store from the people for the people, right? Part of the gentrification of downtown. Stuff was like really expensive for a while. It took them a while to start offering SNAP benefits, to accept SNAP benefits in there. Well, the people that are in the downtown quarter are like, hey, there's no grocery stores. We need more grocery stores down here. We have to drive across the bridge to get to a grocery store. So according to some folks on Facebook that are involved in the interest of getting a grocery store downtown, supposedly the co-op did and hired a consultant to say, hey, where should a new grocery store go? And they said it needs to go across the bridge where there's already a Fred Meyer's and a Safeway and a SARS, a grocery outlet. And part of the argument was they needed parking. So the most craziest thing about the whole thing is, let's bring in our developers, usually the same guys, that going to tell you that it don't pencil out for them and you just got to hook us up because, we're not going to really make any money. We need to feed our families. So we need to make a certain amount of profit to make this pencil out for us. So we're not going to build you a driveway so these people don't have places to park. Oh, you can just park on the street. Now you're playing musical chairs because you got 80 cars and 15 parking spots. I'm going to force you not to have a vehicle. But I probably don't work close to where I live. I need to take public transportation because you don't want me to have a car. But the bus doesn't run in a way that is effective for me to get where I'm going in a timely manner. This is an all-day excursion for me. But you hop in your car and you're there in 15 minutes. And then you're shaking your finger at me talking about you don't need a car. Multimodal, catch the bus, walk, ride a bike. And then we'll pit folks that are disabled and other groups against drivers. We need both. It should be multimodal, but you don't get rid of vehicles. So what are they going to do? Are they going to build a grocery store in and amongst the other grocery stores that already exist because they need parking spots for their customers because there really are no parking spots now downtown for the co-op? The stuff they're doing doesn't even make sense. And when you have older people in city council that are established, that have all their stuff, they're not fighting in the grind. Oh, they understand it, allegedly. But they're not dealing with AI. They're not dealing with rent that is 3 times what it used to be when we were in our 20s. They're not dealing with public transit not operating the way that it used to, which was vibrant and bustling. They're not used to wages not keeping up with inflation and it falling more and more and more and more and more. Nah, you don't need a parking spot. That maybe will allow us to build another unit. Then they say, hey, we're going to build affordable housing. And the rules say 20% of this building needs to be affordable. But if you build 5 units, boys and girls, here's your math question. How many of those units out of the 5 are going to be affordable if it's 20%? 1. And that's based on the market rate. So for most people, that's not even affordable. Wow. Ain't that something? It's not even affordable. You build 10 units, 20% is 2 units. You build 50 units, 10 are affordable, market rate affordable. How are we supposed to put a dent in homelessness and address unaffordable housing if we're requiring it at such low rates? Well, you gotta pay these developers. And not only do they need to make their profit margin on the front end, they need a tax benefit for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. We just went through that last year. I need a tax break in order to build affordable housing. My argument was no. What we need to do is go ahead and look at the industries that we have around us, our vocational industries, some of our employers, some of our nonprofits, and we need to build our own development team and do a Habitat for Humanity on steroids, if you will. You're going to help build this home or this apartment complex or this housing unit, and you're going to get skills as an electrician. You're going to get skills as a plumber. You're going to get skills as a roofer. You're going to get skills as a carpenter. And as you have put that sweat equity into that place, you're going to be able to live in that place. But not only that, as we continue to build, because we need all of this housing, we need to renovate, maybe take some eminent domain over these people that are taking a depreciation tax cut every year because it's cheaper for them to leave the building sitting and being blight than actually doing something with the building or selling it. And now you have taught them to be able to fish So not only was I a carpenter on the building that I built for myself and the people that live in this community with me, but now I can be hired out to be a carpenter on the next project and the next project. And now this person wants a deck, and this person wants this. And now I've got a skill to be able to take care of myself and my family. We don't have to outsource the work. There's plenty of us right here that need work, that need a livable wage, that need skills, especially as AI is coming in. See, we have AI now, and eventually, because the robots are already here as well. So once you put the robots and the AI together, that's going to destroy even more jobs. Elon Musk is talking about a robot in every home by such and such a time and at a very cheap price point. So your chat, your Gemini is already replacing a number of employees that you don't need anymore. Your robot's going to replace even more. But right now, it's not practical for them to do some of these things. One of the biggest things that Americans do, especially that are low income, are delivery drivers of various sorts, whether it's Amazon or DoorDash or delivering medical supplies, truck drivers. Well, this is becoming automated quite quickly, right? This affects me directly. I have a transportation company. Innovate or die. That's my choice. Innovate or die. There's not going to be a bailout for my company. So these are things that we have to consider. But we need to get rid of the drug dealers out of our housing because it does a myriad of things. It removes and creates a space for another individual or family member that is not doing that. It removes someone from society who is destroying scores of people around them and keeping them in their own personal hell. And we're here because we have a homeless epidemic, because we have a drug epidemic. So how do we do this? This framework makes it to where, you know what, we are going to strengthen your guest and access to these properties. The biggest, some of the biggest hoods in Seattle where we grew up. Remember, Rob, what was that one with the big high fence and you had to go through the guard shack?
The Kenyon apartments.
The Kenyon apartments. Where were the Kenyons?
They were off of Martin Luther King.
And Kenyon?
Yeah.
Martin Luther King and Kenyon. Super high fence. Had to go through a guard shack, right? Still had drug use and all that stuff going on in there. But they were trying to control access. Where are you going? We had to tell them what apartment, right? So if they're writing that down and they're like, we could talk about profiling and whatnot. But profiling is also real. It's a thing, right? It might be stereotyping and all kinds of other things, but you got to look at some things. Yeah, even the guy with the suit could be selling drugs. That is true. But more likely than not, you can listen and overhear conversations because they don't hide it, right? Because they don't think anything's going to happen to them. But you're writing apartment 2B has 20 and 30 people running through there every day. You probably should be concerned about that spot because that's supposed to be a single mom with 3 kids. And you got a whole lot of people running through this property every day. And so what this framework does is it creates an accelerated enforcement ladder. As you're documenting this, you can take those steps. Until it's documented, you can't do anything. If you have an employee that is not doing their job, you have to document it. You can't just let them go. You got to give them warnings and options and retraining and da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's at will state and that's some other things, but typically, especially if there's a union around, right, there's protections. So you have to document. You're trying to target and document criminal conduct. That's what you're trying to remove, that element. We know what we're looking for. And yes, it can feel somewhat invasive, right? We already got cameras everywhere. People should be able to come and go to my space, and you don't need to know about that. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. We want privacy. We don't want big daddy government all in our business. I understand. However, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. With receiving some resources, you're going to have some guardrails, some scrutiny, making sure that everything is on the up and up. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't do it for the big boys and not have scrutiny and guardrails for the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world? Absolutely, you should. So I'm not saying, don't do it for thee. What's good for ye is not good for thee. I'm not saying that. But what we're talking about right now is removing dealers. But it is important that we do preserve due process. We're not trying to take people's rights away. And it also protects compliant households. How does it protect them? My son lives next to a trap house. My son is seeing needles when they walk to school. My son could pick up some fentanyl and it tears them up. My son might see people doing drugs and it sounds cool and I want to try. My son might be hanging out with friends that are doing drugs because their uncle or their auntie are doing it in the house next door. And we're the same age, or they're a couple years older, and that's what the cool kids are doing, so I'm going to do it too. There are people that I love, that struggle with addiction. And the thing that really kills me about it, because I don't understand it all. I'm trying, but I never will, right? I don't understand addiction like that because I'm not an addict in that way. But they have other people that are in their lives that are their quote unquote friends. Friends don't let friends drive drunk, but they sure do share a needle or a pipe with them. Misery loves company. I know you're trying to get clean. I have friends that were trying to get clean and other friends of theirs that were trying to keep them using because they didn't want to be alone. They didn't want to be by themselves. They didn't want to see them move on. Even though they gave them the lip service, I want you to get clean. Hell, if you get clean, I'll get clean too. And then when it happens, they don't follow through. I want you to get clean. I want you to reconnect with your family. And then when I come to see you, you're handing me a pipe. Let's smoke a bowl. There were some people in the gangs, and I don't know because I didn't watch Boys in the Hood, but wasn't it in part of Boys in the Hood, Chestnut's character was the football star, right?
Yeah.
And didn't they kind of give him a pass? Like, didn't the gang kind of protect him? Like, you're gonna make it out?
Well, because his brother was in the gang, so he always jumped in front.
He always jumped in front and protected him, right? Like, no, he's gonna be something. He's gonna go out. We're gonna protect him, right? But these friends, they weren't protecting. Misery loves company. Come use. And if you want, I'm not going to encourage you not to. I can make it. Yeah, no, you. If you're going to be here, you shouldn't even be here. But if you're going to be here, fine. But no, you ain't touching that pipe. Pass. No, they don't do that. Here you go. Stay in hell. Stay trapped. Stay stuck. You're telling me that you want a different life, but I'm going to help you to keep making that same choice. You know you want to smoke this. You know you want to shoot this. You know you want to drink this. You know you want to swallow this. And I'm helpless. Because what can I do? I could talk until I'm blue in the face. These people aren't your friends. These people don't care about you. You're losing years. You're going to look back on this time and you're going to regret the shit out of it. Yes, it's an addiction. I don't understand it. You are pulled so strongly. But I also know a whole lot of people that broke away from it. And it was hard. And yeah, the story that I tell when I first moved here, and I'm hanging out with my brother and I'm partying and I'm trying to go to the college at the same time, and I'm not really taking college serious. I'm going to class, but I'm trying to get over to my brother's house because that's where the party is as quick as possible. And it wasn't until I had to destroy the duality in my own mind and decide, what is it that you really want? Do you want the party and to be stuck and looking at people that are 5, 6, 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years older than you, living a dead-end life with no opportunity and no prospects? Or do I want to take the off-ramp and go to school, take it seriously, get some skills, make a livable wage, and live a different lifestyle? That was hard to do, but I had to look at that. I can't do both. I can only walk in one direction. I can't split my feet and do this. People are doing this. And if we remove the dealers, it makes them easier to get on the path that they are going to thrive in. And again, the benefit is this. If they don't, then you know what? They got to leave in order to get the drug from the addict in another city, in another county. So we've solved that problem, right? The dealer's gone, the mouse and the cheese. You move the cheese, the mouse or the rat has got to go over there to get it. The cheese is the dealer. The cheese is the drugs. Get rid of the cheese. And what's great is it works for both sides. If you're someone that is really hardcore on criminal justice, and you say, hey, you do the crime, you do the time, you're selling drugs, go to jail. You're doing drugs, you got a high amount, you're selling in order to support your habit and maybe supplement your income and do some other things, you going down too. And then you have the other side that says, you know what? These folks are suffering from addiction. They're only users, or maybe they're middlemen just to supplement their addiction, but no more than that. They are now going to be able to get help. So whatever lens you look at it through is going to be beneficial for the community and beneficial for the people. You got to protect the people around them as well. And so we have to be careful because we do have rights in this country. So we can't just start blanket drug testing people. And we can't evict people just based on suspicion, right? That big drug bust, they had to do probably months of investigation. I think you might be able to speed that stuff up, right? We watch shows like The Wire and getting wiretaps and doing all kinds of stuff. And we got all these new ways to do surveillance, right? No public shaming. I know we try to do a lot of, catch and release, or you get the small fish and the small fish snitches on a bigger fish and we go up, right? But we don't ever seem to go up high enough to really affect the drug trade or the chain. We just keep messing around with the really small fish. The guy with the pitcher with the drugs there, he's probably a small fish. compared to others that are bringing in major weight. There's some pretty big drug busts in Seattle here in the last few months. I mean, like big. But we have to address these things. There is no bypassing grievance hearings. And if we have these guardrails in place, then it will ensure and reduce any litigation risk, right? We're not trying to get sued and have folks win by some technicality because there was an overreach and an overstep. So what we do is we empower our tenants. The tenant is responsible for guest conduct. This is what I mean, right? This is where it's a RICO charge. This is how RICO is supposed to be used, right? You are part of the drug chain. So if the single mom has the boyfriend coming over, or the brother or the nephew coming over, and he's bringing the drugs over, and he's posting up in the house because she's in the housing projects. It ain't his house. He can sit in there and just have everyone come up to her house and buy the drugs. She got to go. And you say, oh, but what about the baby? We got to protect the baby. The baby is in the trap house. You're not protecting the baby by leaving the baby there and leaving the baby with the mother or a father that is allowing that to take place. But somehow we've justified that in our mind. She got to go. Take that child, put that child in foster care, or find some parents or familial ties that are healthy. And yes, I understand there's some really bad foster care. I could tell you some stories because I'm a foster kid. I could tell you some stories. I have, if you look at some old videos. Have guest time limits. No, you ain't spending the night. Not a lot of them, at least. You know, some have like 14-day windows. You can have someone come and stay for 14 days. Well, how many times are you going to have someone stay for 14 days? Unauthorized occupants are prohibited. Trespass enforcement when appropriate. This can be very lax. Oh yeah, you're not supposed to be on the premises. You're not supposed to be in this Walmart. You're not supposed to be in this Fred Meyer. But they let you in. They don't say nothing. But documented traffic should trigger an escalation. If we are seeing, if people are reporting that folks are going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, that you can smell the fentanyl, you can smell, I don't know what meth smells like. You can smell the marijuana. And you're not supposed to be using it. That should trigger an escalation. If you are a housing provider or a rental assistance provider, if someone is reporting that something is happening in one of your homes or one of the homes that you're supporting, you need to take action on that. Swiftly and immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because again, there's a fiduciary duty to keep those around safe. Could you imagine you live next door to a drug house and your kid finds a pill that looks like a piece of candy and eats it and it was fentanyl? And they overdose and they die? Or that sounds like an exaggerated situation. The problem is, again, a lot of people think it's cool. So maybe it doesn't go down that way. Maybe they're a fifth grader, a sixth grader, or a seventh grader. And again, the neighbor's kid, the adults in there are dealers. They're gang members. They're whatever. So they're growing up in that life. They know about it. They see it. They may even assist in it. And I want to be just like Tom. So I start. And Tom seems cool. He's not addicted. And it just so happens he's not. He doesn't have whatever's in the gene to hit that addiction gene where they're gone. But you do. Your kid does. The person you love does. And they're stuck. They're lost. And you can't love them hard enough to get them out of it. Because all they can do is get themselves out of it. You can try to be supportive. You can do tough love. You can do soft love. You can tell them that you love them all the time. You can set the hardest of boundaries. But they're going to do what they're going to do until they really are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to not do this. And even then, they might fall over from time to time. I have this thing where I say 100% effort. I need 100% effort from you. I will give you 100% effort, but you got to give me 100% effort. You were trying to break out of this. You need escape velocity. That means you got to hit your turbo boosters hard as hell to break the atmosphere, or you cannot break and you can't get out of Earth's orbit. And you're destined to come back to Earth and try it over and over and over again. We have to get rid of the dealers. Acceleration, what it really does is it reduces prolonged destabilization. You get a dealer that moves in, they start selling, they start to work and destroy the ecosystem around, right? It's like a flower that gets a disease and then starts to disease the other flowers. They start getting the dead spots on the petals. First it's one petal, then it's two petals, then it's the whole flower, then it's the flower next to it, then it's the whole flower bed. And it just corrupts. And when you look and you watch, and you can watch all these different people coming in and out. Oftentimes you can see some of the fentanyl users because they are using it so much they can't even stand straight. If you know what to look for, you might be able to identify the meth users. And there again, for those that are like, well, it's meth, it's not fentanyl. The problem is that a lot of this meth has fentanyl in it. The other problem is it's still meth. It's destructive. What is it doing to your brain? Are you investigating what it does to you? But the dealers don't care what it does to you. They don't care whether you reconnect with your family. They don't care if you lose all your loved ones. They don't care if you actually move up Maslow's hierarchy and you hit self-actualization and you become the person that you want to become. You do the things that you want to do. Your dreams, your goals. Destroyed. Don't exist anymore. Too late for me for that. You know what? It was probably stupid anyway. I probably wouldn't have been good at it. It wouldn't have worked out. You'll never know because you were robbed of it because of dealers. So if we're going to say that it's an addiction and that it is a mental health issue, what else do they call it, Rob? I'm looking for the terminology.
Substance abuse, mental health.
But you can't help it. You're wired that way, and so you've got to fight against it. I mean, that's what addiction is, right? And you have these people that are helping you stay there. Real hard to say no, especially if you're going through withdrawals. Real hard to say no if you get into a disagreement. Really hard to say no if you get into a fight. Really hard to say no if you lose a loved one, have a breakup, lose your job. Yeah, you could just have a bad day, wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Driving to the store, I got pulled over, I got a ticket. I can't afford to pay it. Get some bad news in the mail. I get a bill. Off you go. 100% effort. takes diligence. It's hard. I get it. But we also need to have some protections, right? There needs to be some written notice standards. You want fairness, you want consistency, and the way that you do that is there should be some kind of opportunity to fix it, unless, because if you're doing it, to me, there is no fixing it. You're a dealer, you just didn't happen to get caught. You're destroying people. We find through investigation that that's what you're doing, you got to go. You got your homegirl in there selling out your spot, you both got to go. You are complicit in destroying other people's lives of continuing to keep them in hell for personal gain. Stabilization track, when appropriate, and uniform documentation protocols. It needs to be the same across the board. We have too many agencies that are using a number of different processes, and it makes it very confusing. You can streamline it. I think that tenants should be able to have some autonomy in trying to dispute and show that, you know what, I'm not using and I'm not a dealer. Now, if there's evidence to the contrary, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, it's great if you go and you take a drug test because you can't make it mandatory, right? Now, some programs that they may be in are going to drug test you. And apparently, from what I heard, part of the game is the P test is great. Because supposedly fentanyl only stays in your system for 4 days. So if I can pee and just stop 4 days before I pee, and if I show that I'm taking the initiative, I walk up to your agency and I'm like, hey, it's Monday, I'm here for my drug test. And you're like, I'm gonna stop smoking on Wednesday or shooting on Wednesday. So when I go in Monday morning, I'm clean. You're like, oh, you're doing such a good job. We'll see you next month. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to come in and just show you how good I'm doing. These dummies didn't take the hair. The hair would still show that I have meth in my system. And how these agencies don't know the game, I don't understand, because many of the people in the agencies came from the addiction world. So they know the hustle, they know the game. And what's frustrating is when they allow the game to be played. Or you might be friends with this person. You might have actually been in the street with this person. We have folks that have been in agencies that were supposed to be helping the homeless and helping folks in addiction that are actually selling drugs to them while they're on the job. Yeah, they should be able to go ahead and take the test if they want. But one of the biggest things that we're talking about is fiscal impact. And we're talking about annual impact. Where do these dollars come from that we can generate? Again, it helps to generate more dollars because you have less folks that are in addiction or homelessness or both that are using the emergency room as a primary care provider. That is tremendously expensive. We're cutting down on the need of law enforcement, ambulances, fire, trying to resuscitate fentanyl users that have OD'd over and over and over again. My dad would have chest pains and something else. We used to live in Illinois. And, he was a very proud man. He was also a single father, and he had so many of us, and he didn't want to worry the kids. And so if he was having chest problems, what he would do is he would drive himself to the fire department and have the ambulance come there and pick him up so it wouldn't alert the kids. Well, that's how I found out that back then an ambulance ride was $500. Just the ride was $500. So now imagine, even if we kept it at 500, we know that there is inflation. You've got 2 or 3 paramedics that show up. You might have the fire departments that's there. You've got police that are there. So now again, you start counting up. You see 8 people on the scene trying to resuscitate one fentanyl overdose. And you're like $30 an hour, $40 an hour, $50 an hour, $32 an hour, $48 an hour. Fire truck, what are they getting, 2 miles a gallon? You know what I'm saying? No electronic fire trucks, as far as I know. They might have one. Police hauling ass, wear and tear on the vehicles. Fire department. You got all this stuff happening, right? All the materials that they're using. Rod used to work in the emergency room. Can you tell people what some of the stuff costs? I'm gonna toss you the microphone. Just tell them what some of the crazy stuff in the emergency room costs.
Well, I can tell you the big one that a lot of people used to complain about was ibuprofen, Tylenol, aspirin, simple stuff like that. Everybody knows you can go to any store, $4 or $5 for 100, 200. For 2 pills, it's $53. $53 for 2 pills.
So you're saying a thing of 200 is like $5.
Yes.
But 2 pills is $53.
Yes.
So if you multiply that by 100, that's 2 zeros. That's $5,300. Am I right?
That's about right.
So it's $5,300 for a pill. Yeah. Here's some Tylenol.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, hey, take this with you. You can just take that home with you. 5,300, 5,300, 5,300.
They charge the maximum lawful amount to insurance companies. The insurance companies will pay what they're supposed to pay, and you're stuck with that leftover. So when you look up and you're looking at, and a lot of people don't even look at their bill, they just see the amount.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is just the materials that they used. Everything is marked up in there. It is very, very expensive to go to the ER.
So we're talking about one aspect, right? And he's talking about inside the ER. But again, they're deploying those things outside. So think of the savings. Property damage, crime, home invasion, sexual assault, physical assault. The erosion of property values. Generational poverty. Developers not wanting to build because it's not going to pencil out. It's the hood, whatever they want to say. So what we need from our housing programs, from our agencies, from our rental assistance agencies, approve a lease addendum language. Approve a tiered enforcement matrix and authorize interagency MOU, because we all need to be working together. And then we need to be directly reporting quarterly and sharing this information out. Oftentimes, agencies will not share information. They hoard it to themselves. You say, oh, Marwan, how long is this going to take? This doesn't take very long. Take a couple of weeks to finalize the policy and start training staff. We can implement a pilot within 6 weeks. We'll have our first quarterly report in month 3. We can adjust, and at the end of the year, we should already be seeing not only savings, but we should see evictions. We should see decrease in at least sales in that area, right? And what happens? If you destroy one trap with mice, with the cheese, you go to another one. Oh, well, you know, the Johns are going to have to go over here to get their sex worker because they can't be out on this spot now. The police know the block is hot, as they say. So they're going to migrate over here. Well, it's pretty obvious. And then you have to enforce. You have to charge people. You can't keep letting them go. We're not going to get ourselves out of the situation. And this is just a single deployment of a multi-pronged attack. This is one prong. There's many things that we need to do. But we have to be serious about safety without criminalizing poverty. That is not what I'm trying to do. But illegal drugs, selling drugs, that is a crime. Destroying other people's lives, one, it's a moral issue. We need to protect recovery. I can't tell you how many stories that I've seen, again, service providers selling drugs, transportation providers selling drugs to people going to drug court, going to outpatient, going to mental health, going to a meeting, selling drugs? Seriously? Watching them in a tent in these homeless blocks. And they're in and amongst them, making sure that they stay imprisoned and addicted. People who think that they have these friends that are that they want the best for them. But ultimately, misery loves company. I can't have you doing better than me. And when you try to get out, well, what, you think you're better than me? We can free up 20, 40, 60 units pretty quickly. Probably faster than we can build the units. Could you imagine that? If we started listening to our community, if we created a anonymous reporting. You can go ahead and report this. We're not going to show up to your house and try to take a statement and alarm the neighbor that you're reporting that you believe there's a trap house next door, or that you know. If it's safe, document it. Send it in. One of the things that the league has been working on is a program that's just like that. Like I told you, when I look at the city council meetings in Chicago, and you should really watch them, they're really upset with the things that are happening in their community. They don't like when they're told, hey, we got to close this school down because we don't have any funding. We need to close this community down, this community center down because we don't have any funding. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of immigrants are bussed in. And then they reopen the school and they reopen the community center. And they're provided with all of these things. Oh, you don't need a license. You're going to get all kinds of food stamps. And you know what? You don't need to report it. You don't need to report your name. You don't need to have any documentation. We're just going to give it to you. But you, citizen, poor, historically, generationally, you better prove every piece of it. You're going to dot your I's and cross your T's 3 times. And we're still going to say no to you. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're just going to keep hearing that. I can't pay my rent. I can't fix my house. My kids are in danger. It's gang infested. What do you want me to do? If I say something, I might get killed, but you don't come in and police it until it's time for you to gentrify it. No, we don't want to be brutalized and have you come in and you looking at all the same people the same way because we all look a certain way or we all present a certain way, because there are all kinds in the hood. Damn near from paper white to the darkest black you can see. Everything in between. But we seem to really take it. So from a Black history perspective, when you don't give people options and they feel like they need to sell drugs because there's nothing else and it doesn't make sense, right? When you think about it from a logical standpoint, I talked about it earlier. You're on a fixed income, you're getting TANF, you're getting, I don't know what it is, $4 something a month, $475, maybe it's $512 or something like that, whatever it might be right now for one kid, or I don't know what it is, but let's say it's $512 for people listening. And if you earn $50 over that, let's say, we're going to start decreasing your benefit. So the more that you try to work and earn, the more we're going to decrease this benefit. Well, the problem is that you never gain any ground. You just keep staying like this. And the only thing you're doing is you're expending lots of hours and time to get less or the same amount. And again, you can't have escape velocity because you're not going to go into all of a sudden a livable wage job. So you're stuck. And so it doesn't make sense to try to plug away at 20 hours a week doing some serious labor, whatever that is, standing on your feet at McDonald's, dealing with some horrible customer service, whatever it is, just to see, man, I'm not gaining anything, it's doing this. And then, see, because the drug dealers say the same thing. Why? I mean, I don't have any other options. Why am I going to go work at McDonald's for 40 hours a week when I can do this and make twice that? Now, I tell you, the other crazy thing is lots of drug dealers are struggling or they're just terrible with money. You're selling all this weight. You're re-upping all the time, and you still don't have nothing to show for it. Where the hell is all the money going? Because a lot of drugs are passing through you into the community. You don't have a car. You don't have a place to live. You might have some clothes. You got a phone. You got some nice shoes. Maybe you got some jewelry. You don't have nothing. How the hell are you not doing better? You even heard of a drug dealer without a car? I mean, there's craziness out here, right? And again, it's not unique to out here. That's not the point anyway. The point is, we need to get rid of the dealers. Free up that housing stock. Free people that are being sold to these dealers. Get rid of the people that are dealing by proxy, being a middleman and selling major weight or significant amounts of drugs. Get rid of those that are co-signing, co-conspirators. Hit them with RICOs. Because you're getting a little off the top because you're letting me use your spot so I can lay low. You done turned it into a trap. They got to go. And it doesn't matter if it's a mommy with a baby and I got kids and I'm a mother. You know better. We have to draw the line somewhere. This drug, this fentanyl, but even meth, it's nasty. It's destructive. It is destructive. It's destroying people. It's destroying families. It is destroying our society. If we are going to take back our city, one block at a time, we must dismantle these trap houses. We must dismantle these dealers and everyone that is associated with them. And as we do that, more housing is going to open up. As we do that, more people are either going to leave because they're chasing dealers in another town, or it's going to give them an opportunity to have some clarity and to find some options for sobriety. Now, you may not agree with this. You may not agree with many parts of this, or you might agree with only a few things here and there. The thing is that we've tried a lot of other things and some pretty crazy things, like just let's legalize it and just let them go. And all that did was exponentially increase addiction. And then now we want to put the toothpaste back in the tube. We can't. Can't do it. I'm going to have some stats for you on what those numbers actually look like, kind of based off of some Chat GPT research. But I use Chat to really try to work around keeping people's rights intact, right? Not just going in there and saying, hey, you know what? You look like you sell drugs. You fit the profile, whatever the profile is. Drugs in a trailer park, drugs in a Hispanic neighborhood, drugs in a black neighborhood, whatever, wherever. We free up that stock. That's a start. That's one prong. I'm going to continue to try to bring to you solutions. For many of you, you know, I tried to run for mayor and make it out of the primary. And I want to be solution oriented. Everything that I propose may not work or may not work as intended. Some may not work at all. But we cannot continue to do the same thing and expect the result to change. Another reason why I ended up doing this, and I don't know if I could pull this up fast enough, but I have a neighbor who I don't know why she kind of went in on me the way that she did. And I'm not going to give her name. I'm just going to read what she said to me. So she hit me with a private message here. And this was Sunday, right? Hi, Marwan. I'm just curious if you know what's going on in the house behind you. Now, there's not actually a house behind me. Behind me is an alleyway, so I don't have anything direct. There's an empty lot, and it goes up to the hill to another main street, and then to a church. There's obviously something going on up there. I drive by it many times during the day, and I see people in and out of there constantly, though, right? Probably a drug house, probably a trap house. I would check with you before I contact the Bremerton Police Department. It's the yellow house that sits facing the parking lot of the church up above you. So I think what she's talking about, there's a church that used to be called Lincoln Avenue Church. So heads up to y'all up there. It's already been reported to the police. And I hope that they do just what I'm suggesting. Document. Go talk to the neighbors. See what they have to say. And if there's some there, find out who owns that property. Is there a voucher? Is there rental assistance there? If there is, then you got to go. And if there isn't, and it's the homeowner that's doing it, you got to go. And if the homeowner doesn't live there and it's a rental, then you need to let the homeowner know. And hopefully he will start the eviction proceedings. And then you can continue to document what they're doing and go in there and arrest folks. in a legal way, right? Keeping people's rights intact. It's a yellow house that sits facing the parking lot of the church up above you. Now, what she's talking about is a full block from me if you walk up that alley. I have cameras surrounding my house, and I see tons of activity running through my alley daily. Now, in front of me, there's an alley. And when I first met this lady, um, I think someone moved into the alley, and man, traffic was crazy. And I think we believed that it was a marijuana house, that people were going in and buying marijuana. I can't remember at the time why that was. It could have been because of the smell, but the traffic was crazy. And again, it's the alley that people, I mean, it's not paved. It's small. It's like, what is going on? Why are all these people driving down this alley all of a sudden? It was insane, right? And then it quieted down. I'm not sure where they're coming from, but something's up. They had from my street down to Warren all hours of the night. Now, part of what is going on, like there's someone in the back of my house right now. Let me look at my camera because I got cameras in the back of my house, which of course makes my lights come on. I'll see even a cat will make my back camera come on, and I got floodlights back there too. Right, just went off. So, what people like to do is there's a hill that's next to my house. I'm like 5 houses in from the main road, and the hill is steep, right? So what people do is they walk down the alley. Now, if they walk down the alley, and I hate this, they have to walk through my backyard, around the side of my house, down my front stairs. Now, what they'll do is either they're going to go to the right if they're going toward downtown, and they could cross over onto the main arterial, or they'll go catty corner and walk down her alley, which gives them a shortcut to the main road. And so I think that is what's happening with folks, right? Unfortunately, I can't control it. It's not illegal for them to walk down that alley, right? I think it might be illegal for them to walk down the onto the property, but I don't have a fence on this side. I actually don't own the property that I live in. And so I could actually talk to the owner. But when the owner bought this property, maybe 2 years ago now, they installed the fence on the, I'm in a duplex. So they installed a fence on the other side. So you can't walk on the other side. I mean, it's really hard. You'd have to turn sideways and try to squeeze through. Like it would make no sense to go on the other side of the duplex. So on my side, it's just wide open and you can walk down there. I could ask them if they would be willing to build the fence. And maybe that would stop the traffic from people walking down the alley, down my stairs, and then dispersing left or right, right? Also, the college is also right there as well, right? So, you're going to have people that are coming from the college and whatnot. So you're going to have all manner of people. Do you have some people that maybe are drug seeking or whatever the case may be? Yeah, that could be it. But you probably also have college students. And I'll tell you that you have high school students too, because the college is right next to the high school. And I was like, one of my neighbors' kids goes to the high school and always walks down that alley. He's not doing drugs, good kid. He's just walking down the alley because it's the fastest way for him to get to the house, right? So you have all those things. These are the things that you have to ascertain because you can't just dragnet everybody, right? I guess I will contact Mayor Wheeler next and see what he has to say. I've done this in the past over other issues, and of course, it takes him forever to get back to me with anything. So the Bremerton police may be my next best thing to do. Anyways, just wondering if you've seen anything going on. Thanks for all you do. Feed the homeless and help the city of Bremerton. All right. So again, this was Sunday. Now the next day, this is Monday. And if you're listening to the person that put this post, I'm not going to put your name out there. She said, "Can you not answer Facebook questions?" Now I can, but I am tremendously busy. When I say tremendously busy, I'm insanely busy, I probably work well over 100 hours a week, and I don't do just one job, right? I'm on the board for Salvation Army. I'm on the board for the library. I'm on the audit committee for the city. I run the League of Black Male Voters. I run my own nonprofit, Gather Together, Grow Together. I run the Conduit podcast. I'm a father. I have a lot of things that are going on. And when they closed the shelter because the city took the money back, then I became one of the main cogs in trying to ensure that the gaps in feeding folks was there. We have folks and agencies that provide dinner service Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Saturday. We did not have dinner service on Friday or Sunday. We didn't have enough dinner service at the end of those days because the agencies were only creating the meals for what existed because the Y was doing it. I also cook for those meals every Tuesday and Thursday, even before the shelter closed. She got really upset because I didn't answer within 24 hours. Not a big deal. I just tagged you in all the Facebook posts with all the scumbags walking down the alley. So I hope you're not angry at me because I'm hoping I'm not taking this the wrong way, right? But if you mean it with malice, I hope that you wouldn't do that, right? And then she posted again. She sent me a video of the alley. And she said, I gave him your number to call. No worries, post it all. No worries, post it all of our Facebook. And so I saw the post on there. And she posted something that didn't seem kosher. Again, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. But shout out to the homie Kimmy. Kimmy was like, what are you talking about? Marwan is really trying to help the community and this and that. So that's what it is. So this person, if you're watching this, that's why I haven't responded. That I am literally inundated in trying to do this work. Part of what my agency does, we also teach youth classes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm doing all the things, man. If you look at my Facebook post, I don't even post all the stuff that's going on. But it is actually the easiest way to kind of keep people informed as to what's going on in the community. So understand, if I'm not posting or responding to you in Facebook, it's just literally because I'm truly inundated and just have not had the time to do that. Trying to make sure that dinner happened on Friday. Was crazy. That was a lot. I think it was what was dinner? Thursday night. Oh, Wednesday night. We had 9.5 gallons or 10 gallons of soup. 9.5 got consumed, right? And in that, I had to share multiple screens. Oh, okay, I don't want to do that then. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. In that, my friend brought me back all the containers, right? 10 gallons of soup that needed the containers that needed to be washed, right? I'm doing that at like 10 o'clock at night. No idea I was going to be doing that, but that's what's happening. So, again, I just wanted to show that this is my Facebook right here. So you can see that, I'm live, right now, shouting out people that are cooking Food Not Bombs. That was food today, I believe, which was Saturday. This is me with the kids here. This is me yesterday at Bainbridge Island, which is about a 45-minute drive onto the island for the last day of Black History Month. Right? That's my friend Kimmy. This is me and the Rev cooking. Again, I cook every Tuesday and Thursday for approximately 80 plus 70, like 150 people. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m., that's what I'm doing. I'm cooking so that other people can go and serve. This is a big podcast that we do once a month with the county. This is me and the Rev cooking again. Ooh, that Chicken Thursday was slamming. City council meetings that I broadcast. Me in my office talking about something. Who knows what I was talking about? Right? City council, me in the car. I think I was going to library board meeting, wearing my teal tie. This is me cooking again, right? This has got what, 1.5 thousand views? Like literally, this is Sunday. Sunday, I had a Juneteenth meeting. I had, well, Saturday was supposed to be a men's meeting. That got canceled. I went to sleep. I was so tired. Had to figure out how to get dinner because it was the first Sunday of everything being closed. And I made a bunch of spaghetti so people were coming in while I was having my Juneteenth meeting that I had to prepare for. Man, I don't even know what was going in here. Oh, this is me talking about the kids for the first class last Saturday. One of my kids in the workshop are vegan, so we got to make sure that we have healthy options that they can consume. This is Martita, a podcast that I produce for the Hispanic community on Fridays. Me again in the kitchen. Me again, probably coming from the kitchen, getting pissed off about porta potties. 1.6 thousand views. Me shouting out track coach Ron Atkins. Old man, fast as hell, man. Fast. If you need a trainer for your kids, that's the man. He's got a fundraiser going up. It's Kids Have Great Give, so consider that. Paulsboro City Council. I try to broadcast Bremerton City Council, Paulsboro City Council, Bainbridge Island City Council. What's the last one? Paulsboro, Port Orchard, Bainbridge, and Bremerton. The commissioners meeting, Kids Have Transit meeting. This is the Housing and Homeless Coalition meeting that I broadcast on my channel. This got 1,000 views. What am I talking about here? Something else, right? We provide transportation when the severe weather shelter opens up because of inclement weather. So last week it was open Tuesday and Wednesday, right? I think it was open Thursday and Friday as well of last week. I think it was an updated one, right? So that means my employees deploy all over the county, and this is a huge county for those that don't know anything about Kitsap County. And we pick people up, we take them to the severe weather shelter so they're not outdoors in the bad weather, and then we pick them up in the morning, we take them where they need to go, right? And we don't charge them, right? It's a contract with the county. They can also take Kitsap public transit, right? But we're part of, kind of the emergency management stuff. So, this is what it is. This is what I'm doing. And then I try to find some time to play a little bit of Raid on a Saturday night. Tonight I was supposed to be doing some Raid, but I really needed to have this conversation here. And part of it is my neighbor she's right. She's concerned, right? There's something going on in the neighborhood. There is, I can tell you, there's definitely trap houses in my neighborhood. And it is a problem, right? And a trap, I don't know how it got named a trap, but it's apropos. It is accurate. It is a trap. And so when you are in these houses, you can get stuck. You can get stuck. It's a trap. And I've had conversations with a lot of people that are in the traps, tried to help them and provide them resources. Some have taken it and ran with it. Some have taken some and didn't really latch on to it. But again, if you don't remember, I started this story telling you about one of my old students who was thriving, who came knocking on my door looking for help because she was being raped, she was being used sexually, she was being pistol whipped. She told me a story about how one of the people that was having sexual relations with someone else was likely to be HIV positive. And what she was saying was she didn't have sex with that person, but she had sex with someone else that had sex with that person, right? And she was thinking, well, I'm probably okay because I wasn't having sex with them. I don't want to see anybody performing sexual favors for access to drugs. Or alcohol. And that's not the only friend, student, whatever you want to call them, that I know that is in danger of that. And some people think I would never do that. And you know what? I pray to God that it never happens for them. But at the same time, they can attest that people will try. And what happens when it gets so bad and you need it so bad that you're like, you know what? I'll just do it this one time. And then one time becomes two, and then it becomes three, and it's a little bit easier. And now you're not only struggling with addiction and all the traumas and things that go with that, now you're struggling and having to cope and deal with the fact that you're performing sexual acts for access to drugs. I mean, I don't know what to do with that. Except for to remove the dealers, to increase our housing stock, to get the wolves away from our sheep so that our sheep can heal, so that our community can thrive. This is one of many. I have more to come. As I always say, I am R1 Cameron. This is the conduit. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. Please really consider this. Like, subscribe, share, have conversations about this. If you are seeing trap houses, if you know that drugs are going on in certain areas, please document it and report it, and report it, and report it. Be a Karen. Be a nuisance. Make them come and check it out. Make them come and check it out. Make them come and check it out. Make them figure out who's the homeowner. Make them figure out if there's a voucher there. Contact the housing authority. Contact KCR, whoever might be providing rental assistance, and say they need to get the hell out of housing. And make this space available for an individual or a family that is trying to thrive and not destroy people around them for their own personal gain.